Hey friends out there in YouTube land, of course, Robert Hamm here today. I've got a wedding and I wanted to share with you some of the things I take with me. Of course, this is a question lots of photographers get. I get it often as well. What do you use when you shoot on a wedding? Some of you may know I recently switched when I traded in my Fuji gear over to Nikon. I shouldn't say that I switched so much, is that my gear got really old and I had a lot of shutter clicks on it, so I wanted to switch to a new system that would take me the next couple of years. And when I do this, I like to kind of make a little bit of variety and mix it up. However, I'm not going to be showing you any Nikon stuff because, well, just one thing that for me in the end result I needed was a little bit better video stabilization and video platform than the D750. And so I moved over to the A7 Mark II. Let me show you what that. This camera right here is Sony A7 Mark II with the 24 to 70 G Master lens. Of course, the battery grip on it right there. Great camera. I enjoy using it. I've had a love-hate relationship coming to terms with using this camera, although I really enjoy the image quality. And the Nikon, I like to say, was kind of like home. I love the controls. It just felt good in the hands. The controls on the left with the buttons, the controls on the right with the buttons. You know, I didn't even mind some of the dual functionality of them. But what I didn't like specifically was just the video capabilities of the D750. I needed something that could run a little bit more hybrid for me. And the autofocus is where the D750 kind of chumped it up for me. The autofocus on the A7 Mark II actually is really great, especially for the types of photography that I do. I'm not going to say it's a sports camera, but most of the time brides aren't going down the aisle trying to catch a football, so that's okay for me. What I really like about this is the autofocus, specifically with the different intelligent tracking modes in video. With the 5-axis image stabilization, it works great. I also really enjoy the eye autofocus. However, there are 12 customizable buttons on the front and the top. There are also 12 customizable function settings. There's 24 customizable buttons, and it took me about a week, right around 10 days actually, to get the layout dialed in so that I would enjoy using it. Now that I have, I enjoy it quite a bit. Excuse me. Also, you always need a camera to back up, so I went ahead and picked up the Sony A7. Now, I got that with the kit lens because the kit 28 to 70 is stabilized, and I really like that. Now, I've gone out photographing with the A7. I'm not going to show it to you right now because it's basically the same, but I really, absolutely enjoy the A7. How cool is that? And I like it. It's a little bit different, very similar camera. Image quality is just as good as far as I can tell, if not identical. It just lacks the in-body image stabilization. Now, I want to use the A7 as my rig for wedding videos. Now, I shoot hybrid, and you might be laughing and saying, Rob, why would you have done that? And I would have done it because I got the Xenyung Tech, well, not Tech, I got the Crane Plus, and that's in this bag right here, or this box. And it comes really nicely appropriated, you know, so we can put this thing together, and it gives you 3-axis image stabilization. Now, I got the kit lens because of that 5-axis image stabilization in the kit lens. I actually don't know if it's 5-axis. It may only be 3-axis. It may be 5-axis. But the lens has optical stabilization. And when put in conjunction with the Crane, the footage that I've been able to get is really smooth. So I enjoy that quite a bit. So those are the two big announcements as far as things that I'm going to shoot with, as far as my videos and my hybrid workflow, both video and photography. Also, I use several different tripods. I use light stands. Something people ask me, I'm known for my wedding photography on the beachside photography, and I get beautiful images. And lots of times people want to know, how do you get a great image on the beach during the bright daylight? And you need to use strobes, flash. Now, some people will tell you, oh, you got to use flash point, or oh, you got to use this. Well, I'm going to share with you how I do it. I use a bunch of Yongnuo Wine 560 Series 4 flash. You guys will know these are about $65 a flash. I even get a protection plan on them for 2 years for an extra, what, $10? In case one breaks, I can send it in. And they've been really great flash. I've got about 15 of these now, and I put them all over the place in the reception, on Gorilla Pods, behind flowers where I want to do some uplighting. I gel different things, and they're all wireless with an actual radio frequency. They're 2.4 gigahertz. And that means that I can turn them on and off and not have to have line of sight in a master-slave or optical wireless kind of mode. And that's really nice. They're built well enough. I've dropped all of them several times. They haven't busted apart or anything on me. But the nice part is that I can control them while I'm shooting and moving. You know, I just make them work. And so what I do with the reception, what I do with the portraits at the beach during the ceremony is I just put a few of these on light stands. I might put a snoot to kind of make them go straight forward. It doesn't really matter, but to try to focus the light a little bit more. And you might say, Rob, how in the world can these overpower the sun? And they cannot. They cannot at all. But the minute that you put a neutral density filter on the front, you can make it really dark. Now the camera's already got great low light capabilities. You can bring out a lot of the shadows and everything like that, and a lot of the blacks, which is just part of a nice full frame or any kind of system. When you add flash to that, you can expose for the background, which in this case is going to be a blue sky on a beautiful bright day with all those yellow warm colors. And then you can have these flash powered on enough in order to brighten the faces. If you don't believe me, just go out and try it. You don't have to take my word for it. Sometimes I use a variable neutral density filter. Today, I'm using a 3-stop neutral density filter, and I might change it to a variable when I get out there. Who knows? But that's how I do it. I have a flash on the camera that controls all the rest of them because the back of them allow me to control all of them with that control panel. Any one can be a transmitter. All the rest can be slave receivers. It doesn't matter. So I have one on the camera, and then I have one, just different. I have them set up just different places. Usually I put them near the flowers. So if you've got flowers and stuff, I'll backlight the subjects. You don't really have to worry about seeing those. That way they can kind of cut out and stand out with a little bit of rim lighting against the background. And that works really nice. Thing is, you got to practice this kind of thing. These are not through the lens metering flashes. And I don't use TTL flashes. I use all manual flash. Mainly because I find it to be more consistent. Now, your mileage may vary. Canon and Nikon and Sony, they've all got great through the lens metering systems. But do yourself a favor, get out of the automatic mode and learn manual flash. Now, you're going to save a lot of money buying strobe units, and you'll be able to create and sculpt your light quite a bit better. And you'll be able to make the decisions instead of having the camera make the decisions. Do I think that I'd shoot any slower because I shoot manual flash? I don't think so. I don't have a basis of comparison because I've never shot TTL. I've just always shot manual. And I noticed that when I'm out on shoots with my friends and everything else and we're setting up flash, I'm not the last guy to go. I'm usually the first one backdrop set up and everything moving. So I like that. Okay, so now that we've got that, of course, circular polarizers, neutral density filters, things like that. Those are what I'm going to use, especially on the video camera. I'll use a variable ND on there. But I like to make myself the king of the castle and the best friend to everybody. And I do that with this thing right here. Guys, this is the TL70 by Mint camera. If you don't know about this camera, it shoots Instax images just like this of my grandmother. Now, this wasn't taken on this camera particularly. I took this with the D750 and then used the Share printer to print it. But I also have a Share printer. But when I want to go out and make friends and do something really special, I love using and shooting with the TL70. Now, Mint didn't pay me to this, hashtag not sponsored. This is part of my wedding gear. I take this along with me. I used to take a Neoclassic Mini 90 by Fujifilm, but this works better because, check this out, neutral density filters. So I have a 3-stop ND filter on this right here, which means I'm going to take my exposure compensation, I'm going to set it to minus, I'm going to go ahead and put my aperture at f8, and guess what? I'm good to go out in the bright sunlight right now. That's just what I need. I know that shooting at the beach is going to be about an exposure value of a 16, 17 today. I know that this at f8 is going to do me just fine. And I've got hundreds of different tutorials on how to use that. Well, maybe not hundreds. I think I got 60 tutorials on how to use a TL70 on my channel. So I really enjoy this. And this, look, this is a nice look for a photographer. I'm dressed up, I look good, my suit on, and then I've got something that is very classy looking to go along with it. And so people really enjoy interacting. They like the fact that the image pops out of the top and then it develops in front of them. It's just really, really cool. The final thing is today, I've got a lot of things going on, and you might say, Rob, how are you going to accomplish all this? Do you have a second shooter today? And the answer is no. No, I don't have a second shooter, and I don't necessarily need one for today. It's a pretty simple wedding, although each wedding is unique. Once you've shot a couple hundred weddings, it gets down to just repeat and rinse and repeat and rinse. You know, it's just the same kind of thing. So because of that, I've gotten very efficient in my photography, and I also know what cues, the heuristics to look for, so I know when to switch between one or the other. I'll have both the Xenon Crane and the A7 with me, as well as the A7 II. I will not be carrying around the TL70 the entire time. The TL70 is in the bag or on a table somewhere, ready for me when I need it. And I like to use the TL70 to get the kids involved when I'm taking family portraiture, make them really excited and get them so they can see something that pop up. It's just a really neat kind of process. So So I kind of use each one in different stages, and I go in early enough to get all my establishment shots and my detail shots, both for video as well as for photo. So that's how I do it. And then the rest of the day is pretty good. By the time it comes to photograph the bride walking down the aisle, I'll actually put the Xenion Crane on with the Crane app and the A7, and I'll just tell it to track the bride as she walks down. It's got a great intelligent tracking mode through the app that controls the crane. All you do is you put your phone on top of the crane and on the hot shoe of the camera, and now the crane knows where the bride is, and you just draw a little box and it'll do great. And for that, all I need to do is catch that little sweeping movement. Afterwards, I can switch between one or the other. At the end, when it comes time to do the kiss, I'll do the same thing. And because weddings happen in a pretty standard order, and we even practice them at the rehearsal dinner, I know what to expect. So it makes it pretty simple. Although there's a lot going on, don't get me wrong, you got to be on top of your game. But it's something that I enjoy. And it makes it exciting for me. And whenever I'm excited, it makes it all the better for the bride. Guys, I'm Robert Hamm with Robert Hamm Photography today. You've seen what's in my bag. We are April 14th, 2018. I want to thank you for watching and remind you I'll catch you on the flip side.